Hey guys, welcome to week 16 of Books Being Sick. I am Nick. Happy to have you here. This is week 16. You know what I mean? Like feeling pretty good about that. Didn't really know how far I was going to go with this when I started it, but 16 seems pretty good. And we're going to keep going. We're going to go until like I say 300. I feel like 300 is the goal. When we get to week 300, we'll see what happens. Probably I'll just keep going. But we got some books to talk about. Finished a couple books this past week that were just so depressing. So that was fun. I don't know if you guys work on book pairings before you start reading. Like usually I read about 2 books at a time. Sometimes I squeak into 3, but 2 is about my norm. And I would say that usually it's kind of either a nonfiction with a bubbly fiction, or like a really sad fiction with a more interesting nonfiction, or maybe one sad fiction and one happy fiction. For some reason, I paired the most devastating nonfiction I've read to date with one of the most devastating fiction books I've read to date, side by side. And it was a lot. It was a lot. I got to work on that better because I don't ever really want to do that again. You know, it was a pretty sad start to April. But I'll go through what those were. I don't know if I have anything really to share before we jump into it. I got some Pepsid. I don't know if you guys have ever had Pepsid. But, you know, if you have tummy issues, it's really good. I like Pepsid. So far, so good. Oh, I got a yellow nail. I painted my nail yellow. So we got yellow today. I don't know why. I'm just doing the one nail, and I'm just doing yellow. I think I'm just going to leave that. And I'm not going to tell you why, because there's no actual answer. I think I'm just going to just paint this one nail for no reason for the rest of my life. You know? Okay. Let's dive into it. So, we got some things here. We got all these books I'm going to talk about for different reasons. Let's get into the heaviest one first. You know, let's talk about the heaviest one first, so that we can just take a deep breath. So I finished Iris Chang's book on the Nan King Massacre, and I can't really translate to you how brutal this was. You know, the accounts of what happened to these Chinese people of Nanking. It's some of the most horrific, mortifying, just bone-chilling upsetness that I've ever experienced. It's you know, I feel like it's weird because I feel like I know, in terms of history, that time frame of history is probably the one that I know the most about. I just read a lot about World War II and the lead up to World War II and just kind of what was going on. And I'd always heard of Nanking, and I'd always seen kind of Nanking mentioned, like just almost in passing, like just here and here and here, but had never really dived into what actually happened at Nanking. And that is kind of the point of why Iris Chang wrote this book, because she was feeling the same way. She was like, why don't people know about this, considering how like when you read this book, you'll be utterly just eternally confused as to how this massacre of Nanking is not mentioned as much as all the other, you know, big events and travesties of that era. It is it's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life. Some of the accounts of what happened to these civilians of Nanking is absolutely gut wrenching. And you know, so be forewarned if you want to give this book a try. It's not for it's not going to be for everybody. Some people probably won't be able to stomach it. But that being said, I would highly recommend that you try to give it a go, because I think it's important that people know what happened here. And because another big purpose of Iris Chang writing this book is that the cover up basically that tried to happen after this massacre, that kind of probably is what has kept so many people from really knowing what happened and what truly transpired in Nanking, is why people don't know about it. So I would pick this up. Just be forewarned, it's going to be tough, but you know, I'm really glad that I read it. I'm glad that I know about the Nanking Massacre more thoroughly now, and yeah, it's so. Yeah, that was book 1 of the month. Pretty tough start to April, but you know, it's also a book that's really hard to rank too. You know what I mean? I was like, how do I rate this book? Really, it's unrateable. You know, it's just okay. So, anyways, so finished that, and then afterwards, I think it's at the bottom here. I finished the book club book for the Sick Book Club this month, which is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This book was incredible. My first Cormac McCarthy book. I mean, the whole time, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the whole time you're just kind of thinking that this certain person, something bad is going to happen to this one person in the book. At least that's how I kept feeling. And being a... No, I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say that because I don't want to give anything away. But you're just kind of... I kept expecting something bad to happen to this one character, and it didn't. And something else happened instead that I wasn't expecting, but it almost made me even more sad. You know, this is one of the few books where the last few pages, water on the face, you know, coming out, face twitching uncontrollably, just a lot of things happening up here that I was unable to control. You know, the last couple pages, because you really do go on a journey with this father and son. You really do feel like, you know, and being a father myself, it was very, I kind of made it all that much more, made my attachment to this book all that much more strong. And Cormac's writing throughout this is insane, because someone mentioned this in the book club chat, and I kind of agree with them, actually. It's the way that he writes is he's talking about this pretty horrific, brutal kind of, decaying world that these two are trying to get through. But the way that he writes, it's almost kind of relaxing. You know, you're going through, and it's just the way that he strings words together, you just kind of like, it takes usually a page or two to get your brain switched into it. And then once you're in, you're just kind of like, whoa. You know, like his writing is something else. And the dialogue in this is interesting too, because it's very plain. You know, I can try and quickly find an example here of the dialogue, but I'm going to read this little part here for you just to give you an idea of what Cormac's writing is like. The small fire burning in the floor seemed a long way down. He shielded the glare of it with his hand, and when he did, he could see almost to the rear of the box. Human bodies, sprawled in every attitude, dried and shrunken in their rotted clothes. The small wad of burning paper drew down to a wisp of flame and then died out, leaving a faint pattern for just a moment, in the incandescence like a shape of a flower, a molten rose. Then all was dark again. So those are the kind of descriptive things that you're reading when you're reading this book, and it's really beautiful and incredible. And then the dialogue is just so different, because I'll give you an example of this is the father and the son talking to each other. Can I ask you something? Yes, of course. Are we going to die? Sometime. Not now. Are we still going south? Yes. So we'll be warm? Yes. Okay. Okay, what? Nothing. Just okay. Go to sleep. Okay. That's the dialogue, and I actually kind of relate to that as a dad, you know what I mean? Because sometimes when you're talking to your kid, you're trying to understand what they're asking, but you're also trying to not be too confusing to them, you know, like simple words are sometimes the best. And yeah, I can't, I mean, what can I say about this book? It lived up to the hype. I really genuinely enjoyed it. I can't not wait to read another Cormac book. I don't know what my next one's going to be. I do have All the Pretty Horses and Blood Meridian, so maybe I give one of those two a try. Although if I have to be honest, I really want to read No Country for Old Men. So if I see that one out and about, I might grab that one and give that one a go. But The Road by Cormac, beautiful book. What can I say about that book? So with that being said, I'm having a good start to the month. As awful as the books, like not awful, but as like hard as the books I've read so far have been. I'm a little further ahead than I thought I would be. So I decided what I'm going to do is add another book to my reading agenda for this month. And I'm also going to make the rest of this month a finish up month. I've got a couple books that I just really need to finish that I'm going to take advantage of where I'm at in this month and finish them this month as well. So the book I'm going to add to this month is The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs. I mentioned this in my book haul last week. This just seems really fun, you know what I mean? And I feel like just reading about dinosaurs might be a nice change of pace from what I have been reading so far this month. And I read the first little bit yesterday, and it's great, man. This guy basically says, like, you know, this is a book for the people who grew up in the Jurassic Park era, you know, that watched Jurassic Park in the 90s and were like, whoa, what is this? So right off the bat, I'm like, yep, I'm on board. And his writing's really, really great so far. It really gets you excited for dinosaurs. So I'm pretty pumped to add that one to the list. I'll have a full review on that one once I finish it. But so far it's been fantastic. I'm really excited to get going with that one. I also started The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This is a romantic sort of I don't know if comedy. I don't know. So far, I don't know if I'd say romantic comedy, but romantic adventure-ish, almost sort of book. It's about a. I'm about 9 chapters in. Where am I here? I'm about 9 chapters in, and maybe 10 chapters. I can't remember. Anyway, it's about basically this family that has three adopted girls that are witches that they need to take care of, and they can basically provide them with all of the basic stuff that they need, like English and math and all that. But when it comes to actually being a witch, they don't know what they're doing. So they find this other witch to kind of come live with them and teach the girls how to be a witch because they need to harness their witchy powers. And I've just been smiling so hard while reading this book. It's been a lot of people recommended this one, and I think sometimes these books can be very, very hit or miss. But so far, this one for me is definitely a hit. Again, it's so wholesome and it's so fun, and I'm really genuinely liking all the characters that we've been introduced to so far. And I've really been enjoying it. My wife recommended this one to me, and when I shared it, a lot of people were like, that's one of the best ones I've ever read. And so I'm excited to keep going with that one. So far, it is really, really good. Now, for my finish-up books this month, this big one here you probably know, is The Winners by Frederick Bachman. This is book 3 in the Beartown trilogy. I am about 184 pages in exactly, actually, so I need to just keep going with that one. So I'm going to take advantage of being a little ahead this month and finish up The Winners by Freddie B. I'm excited to wrap up the Beartown trilogy and kind of see where it finishes up. I also need to finish this book. This is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. Kind of fell out of this one a little bit because it isn't really like one continuous story. It's a bunch of kind of more random stories, and there is one in here though that just it is this one here. The Sweetheart of the Song Trebong is chapter. Oh, it doesn't have chapters, but so far that one there is my favorite. It is so, I can't really tell you what it's about, but it's so interesting. And I'm excited to keep going with The Things They Carried. Again, it's been a little harder for me to fully latch onto this one. However, it is good. So I'm going to finish that one up this month. And then the only other book I have on the go for this month is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Now, just given that my first 2 books of this month were very, very heavy, my intention is to read and finish this one this month as well. I just know that this one is also very like of a book. So I'm intending to start it this month, but I don't know. Maybe after a book like The Very Secret Society and the Dinosaur book, I'll be ready to jump back into a book like this. But that is kind of where I'm sitting at for April. I don't know what else to talk about. I've got a question for you, as a matter of fact. So when I posted, I talk a lot about how 11/22/63 is my favorite book of all time. And someone on my last video commented and said, and I fully agree with them. They said, you're still pretty new to reading. You've got so many amazing books that you're going to experience in the future. I'll bet that 11/22/63 won't be your favorite book in the future, and then in the near future, the far future, whatever. And I agree with that person. But when I was trying to think, like, well, I do agree, but like, what book on my horizon do I think would even have a chance of overtaking my favorite book being 11/22? And I would love to see what you guys think. If there's a book that I just haven't mentioned or that might not be on my radar that you think is the best book ever written that would overpass 11/22 for me, keeping in mind kind of like my preferences and styles and all that. But yeah, I was like, I don't really know. In a weird way, I was like, maybe a Donna Tartt book, even though I've never read Donna Tartt. It just seems like The Goldfinch and The Secret History are 2 books that are up my alley and that I do think I'll really enjoy. Will they overpass it? I don't know. Will it be kind of a out of nowhere book, like like Jurassic Park, maybe? I know a lot of people like Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. Could that be a sneaky one that kind of just jumps in there and overtakes it? I don't know. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about, what are the best reads you've ever read and what you think might be a book that I should add to my list that would potentially overtake it. Because now I almost want that to happen. Now I'm like, what's going to do it? I'd like to see. Other than that, Between Two Fires by Buellman, I think his last name is Buellman, is a book that I really want to read. That's another book I want to add to my list this year, but it's basically unfindable in Canada. Like it's not on any bookshelf I've ever seen, and I look every single time I go for this book, and I've never seen it. So I think I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and just order that one online. If you've read Between Two Fires, let me know what you think. I'm excited for that one. It's historical fiction, and by all accounts, it's one of the best ones ever done. So I'm excited for that. I've got new Books Are Sick merch coming. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but I shared it there. I'll leave a link to my Instagram down below if you want to see it. It's a book basically walking and doing this, and it says Books Are Sick. I'm going to have totes and shirts for that coming within the next month. I don't know for sure when, but I'll let you know when that is when that's ready to go. And that's all for me for week 16. Lots of book talk this week, which is nice. And again, I'll have my Instagram handle and my my Patreon book club link down below if you want to join. And if you want to like and follow this page, that would help out a little bit. I do not feel any pressure to do so because I know that's really annoying when people ask you to like and follow their page. But I did it that just then. You just heard me do it. So anyway. Cheers. Okay. Thanks, guys.